Melissa said, okay. So as Melissa said, I want to introduce you to this last session, just framing what are we doing right now, and why is it important to speak about internal governance. So I just wanted to start with what we are feeling today in Colombia. Like, in fact, today we are experiencing a moment of enormous tension for democracy. We are facing also like the possibility of setbacks in hard-won rights and the reduction of spaces for citizen participation. And it is important, it is urgent to make these conversations on how do we sustain, how do we improve, and how do we keep learning through collaborations and with allies on public participation and how to sustain all these efforts that we've been creating. We know the same situation is also reflected in many countries in Latin America, in Africa, in Eastern Europe, in Asia, where we can also observe polarization, crisis of representation, etc. And in Demo.Reset, we know that in response to those challenges, those of us who believe in democracy continue to organize, mobilize, and to seek new ways to participate in the decisions and in these frameworks of participation that can shape our lives. So just to remember this central question at the heart of Demo.Reset is how do we build democracies that can listen, that make better decisions, and that generate greater legitimacy. So as we have noticed, democracy becomes stronger when citizens, when civil society organizations, when public institutions find these new ways of dialogue, of deliberate, and to build collective solutions together. We have been working this last 5 years alongside more than 240 organizations committed to experimenting, to learning, and adapting new forms of participation to their realities and their territories. So I wanted also to frame like our approach in Demo.Reset. What is our approach and why do we do the work in this way? So to move in the direction of increasing participatory spaces, we understand Demo.Reset as a laboratory of democratic innovation. And this means that we approach democratic innovation as a progressive process of learning, testing, adaptation, and collective improvement. Over the past 5 years, we have been building these mixed methodologies to strengthen deliberative practices through 3 key elements. First, learning from theory and from what has already been tested in deliberative democracy around the world. Second, testing and experimentation in real context with organizations that are opening these spaces. And third, global collaboration networks that allow organizations to exchange challenges, to exchange lessons and solutions across regions. Wait a minute. So when we talk about innovation, we do not necessarily mean like creating something entirely new. Innovation also means changing the way we currently do things. So sometimes this means adjusting just one part of the deliberative process, such as recruitment, pedagogy, facilitation, or decision-making. And some other times it means like rethinking the full cycle of a deliberative model. So that is why our methodology is inspired by human-centered design, design thinking, agile models, sprint, and co-creation methodologies. And these approaches, throughout all these approaches, there is like a shared principle that we design from the needs and the realities and the capacities of the people and organizations involved. And all the mentors that you have seen throughout the project are also involved in this process and in thinking specifically of the needs and the realities and capacities of the organizations that make part also of this community of practice. And this approach is especially important in the Global South. We know that participatory process often operates in contexts marked by inequality, territorial conflicts, low institutional trust, and also of democratic setbacks. So thinking about innovation in these environments requires also recognizing like the knowledge, the community practices, and the participatory spaces that civil society has already created to strengthen democracy. And thinking of this, I wanted to open the conversation on today's session. These are our 5 key factors of sustainability that we have been mapping, and you all have been involved in learning about these 5 factors. And the focus of today's sessions emerge when we think about sustainability in a more open and holistic way. So we often think about funding, about resources, about institutional support. But throughout this mentorship process, we wanted like to span the approach through the 5 factors and invite all of the community of practice to think about sustainability as a collective capacity. So the experience of many deliberative practice show that their long-term continuity also depends on less visible factors, such as the ability to learn from others, to build alliances, to distribute responsibilities, to manage knowledge, and to strengthen like teams capable of sustaining this work over time. And this led us to our central question that will guide today's conversation around internal strengthening of the model, its alliances, and continuity of collaboration. So Model 4, welcome all of you to Model 4, from internal governance to action, where the central question is what organizational capacities enable a deliberative model to endure, to adapt, and to continue generating impact over time. So I want to say hi to Ramadan. We are going to explore this question with Ramadan Klisurica from Kosovo. So Ramadan, let me introduce you. Ramadan Klisurica is a governance and decentralization expert with nearly 18 years of experience leading reforms and institutional strengthening initiatives with organizations such as USAID, the Council of Europe, and Helvetas. His expertise includes participatory governance, regulatory reform, institutional design, citizen engagement, and municipal governance. He's currently pursuing a PhD with international relations. He combines academic research and practical experience to help organizations develop context-sensitive, sustainable, and impactful democratic governance strategies. Welcome, Ramadan.
Thanks, Sylvia.
So before I give you the floor, let me just remember these few elements for the session. So everyone, if you have any question, please feel free to write us in the chat. We will be very attentive to answering your questions. Please keep the mic in mute, but remember that you can raise your hand to ask questions at the end of the session, or ask those questions to the chat. And if you feel comfortable, please turn your cameras. We, in this virtual world that we're living, we really feel excited when we see other faces, when we see other people. And as this is our last session, it will be very important to see you all, at least for a minute. That will be all. Go ahead, Ramadan.
Thank you, Sylvia. Hello, everyone. It's a great pleasure for me to have an opportunity to discuss with you about this very important topic, which is actually affecting our daily life of our organization in all different countries. So it's really a great pleasure to have the chance to talk to you. It's very important for me to keep this conversation today as much as interactive as we can. So please don't hesitate to interrupt me by raising your hand at any moment you want to ask anything, or especially at any moment you feel that you need to share something from your own experiences. So the way how we have designed this presentation together with all colleagues from Demo.Reset is we were very careful to bring as much as more relevance to attract your involvement and active participation in the conversation. So please don't hesitate at any moment to raise your hand, and we will allow you then to speak. So what maybe the basic, the first element is about when answering to the question that we have, the main topic here is that the organizational efficiency of all of our organizations is very important, and it directly affects the progress of democracy in our countries. And the opposite, organizational inefficiency of our organizations hinders democratic progress in our society. So it's very important for us that we do correct capacity evaluations, our internal operations, and define strategic identity of our organizations. Otherwise, an organization cannot successfully scale a democratic movement or influence public policy if its internal operations, strategic identity, and capacity assessments are misaligned. I will share with you two graphics, one which might sound a bit provocative, one from a global stage, which is this picture. So what you see here is a plane known during the Second World War as a kamikaze planes. And the logic here is that the pilots deliberately crashed their planes packed with full of explosives, full of bombs, and full of fuel tanks directly into Allied warships. Actually, this was mostly Japanese pilots doing that. So that was the way how they were exercising their duty to stop the Allied warships. And the second slide is more of a local. Here, this is Mitz Sokoli, our famous hero in Albanian history, the legendary Albanian who charged an active Ottoman cannon pressing his chest against his mouth to shield his comrades as it fired. So his aim was to stop cannon firing just in order to protect his comrades. So the basic question here is, do any of you want to become a kamikaze, or do any of you want to become Mitsokoli? So it's what we will try today to discuss is how to avoid becoming, maybe basically how to avoid becoming kamikaze, or how to avoid being Mitsokoli. We don't need to become kamikaze. We don't need to become Mitsokoli. There are a lot of ways how to successfully achieve our goals, our advocacy activities that we are aiming by avoiding victimization of ourselves, of our organizations. So we will be trying to discuss in that format. So if we want to avoid this kind of situation, it's very important that we avoid misaligned processes which are hindering effective opportunity harnessing. It's very important that we avoid fragmented structures internally. It's very important that we avoid situations of lack of synchronization. So we ensure better synchronization, we ensure better structures, internally aligned processes, and we need to ensure that our approach is unified. So otherwise, we will be limiting our opportunities, our potentials, and our reaction capacities toward the situation. By the way, if you have any local heroes that you would like to share, please feel free to write in the chat. Most probably all of our nations have their own Mitsokoli or kamikaze style heroes. So please don't hesitate to share. We will also be very eager to learn more about them. From a different perspective, it's very important. So we have internal framework alliance, organization, core structures, and processes. So to understand how an organization internal structure directly dictates its capacity for external impact. Harmony between internal framework and the goals. We need to have shared values and beliefs shaping our behavior. And one of the most important element is the leadership, while we have vision and guidance driving the change. Effective civic engagement is very related to stakeholder identification. We will be speaking more in detail about this segment in the next slides. So it's very important that we identify relevant individuals and groups that are decision makers or important actors in the field that we are trying to push our narrative, or to make institution work in that direction that we are aiming to. It's very important also the theme selection. Now, going back to the structure of the organization, which are part of this process, we have a Kosovo organization which works on rural development, targeting, influencing decision-making processes and strengthening rural development in Kosovo. We have an organization from Mexico which works with Parliament of Mexico. We have a youth organization which work about the youth involvement from Indonesia, and then we have an African Nigeria organization working on mine issues. So depending on the topic that you are covering, it's very important that you identify stakeholders accordingly. So stakeholders with Mexico project, with Mexican activities there, with Parliament are totally different from the ones in Indonesia. The Kosovo ones are totally different from the African one who are dealing with the mining. So it's very important to keep in mind this theme selection processes and stakeholder mapping in all that regard. So please, again, do not hesitate to share anything from your context, from your activities, engagement in your organizations, just to complement all the conversation that we are having here. So the next is about the moving beyond one-dimensional approach to design multi-layered and self-moving civic campaigns. So what I call usually producing the waves. It's very important in today's, especially with today's technical developments, it's quite a possible opportunity. Before maybe 10, 20 years, it was very hard to produce waves in our societies, to produce mass support for our engagement, for our causes. Today is totally different. Today we have a lot of technical opportunities. We have social networks very strong as a tool. So we might utilize all these elements for community engagement by involving diverse groups in our civic activities, by ensuring activism, mobilizing citizens for social change, to organize multidimensional campaigns, integrating various tactics for comprehensive impact, and finally producing self-moving campaigns, empowering communities to drive their own initiatives. So now I would like to go with a short exercise with you. I would like to hear the response from you about what internal challenges your organization is facing in order to become sustainable. So just to go in line with the structures, with these problems that we identified, that we mentioned before, which ones do you think that are challenges that your organization is facing in order to become sustainable? One word, please. You can scan the QR code, and in the Mentimeter, you will be able to provide your comments. Funding. Funding, team load, resources and skills, commitment, institutionalization, manpower. I like this. Partnership, critical thinking. Still, funding is major issue. Team load. Okay, data, having data, meaningful partnership. Yes, very important factor. So we have several partnerships. Political will comes now. Capacity, collaboration, resources, manpower, time. Yeah. We have more and more elements. Now commitment becoming more of an issue, partnership, team lead, but funding still remains a major problem. Regional networks. Yeah, great. So if we have to make maybe a list of the challenges we identified, is the major one is funding, lack of funding, and then continues with partnerships. I understand limited partnership opportunities because it sounds as a challenge. Resources, limited resources, commitment, team load. We see team load more often coming as an issue for having organizations achieving the sustainability in the organizations. So going back to the presentation, if we can. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Mandy. It's very important that before we move into any specific actions, so we decide from internal to utilize our internal organization and go do something major. What is very important is that we do assessment of our internal capacities, which is very important step before us taking any decision further. So when we look on ourselves, it's very important that we first see what are our human capacities. So many of you mentioned the staff load, lack of staff, time, dedication, all of that. It's very important that we understand in the beginning, we map clearly what are our human capacities in order to go further in the direction of undertaking, organizing, and implementing different actions. In that regard, it's very important to identify skills and expertise of the team. We will be speaking more detail about that in the next slide. The second is very important, our operational flexibility. So ability of our organization to adapt to changing needs. It's a very important element because you might end up just overloading your resources, your team, your staff, and just being ineffective then in implementing various actions in the field. And network capital is crucial element here. You have to assess your connections with external stakeholders, identify them, and address this element very carefully. When we speak about now first element of this assessment about human capital. Look, it's very important. We have to, it's depending on our case that we are running. It's very important that we identify clearly if it's about legal issues, we have to identify our potential for legal expertise. We have to ensure compliance and navigate legal challenges throughout the process. Policy researchers are very important segment of that, depending on the type of the activity that we want to get in with our organization. So we need to have a policy researchers who will provide insight and analysis for effective policies. Digital storytellers are maybe one of the most important segments of our human capacities, because they will be able to create these waves that I previously mentioned about creating wave of self-sustaining actions in our field of engagement. And street mobilizers are an important element. For example, from these hats that you are seeing here in the picture, I like the most of this Texas hat, which associates to me of this more gangster style guys. And especially for the mining topic that you are dealing there in Africa, I think you are more needed for that type of people. While here in Kosovo, maybe rural development, maybe you need less of these guys. Although your partners might be wearing hats, this type of hats in their head. So basically, what in Mexico you might need more people with ties, less cowboys. So what I'm trying to say is that when we assess human capacities, it's very important that we assess our capacities, uh, our human capacities, depending on the topic that we are dealing with. And I would be very happy to hear maybe any of your experiences in your organization all over these 4 countries, maybe what kind of human capacities you are possessing, and how that correlates with the goal that you want to achieve through this engagement. So if any of you is willing to share his or her experience, please feel free to raise your hand and share your experience.
If I may.
Yes, Leo.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this very productive session today, especially for the work that we as a civil society are doing. I mean, we are facing a lot of difficulties. One of them, for sure, the major issue is related to the funding. Since USA shut down, there are a lot of organizations that now are being passive and they are not functioning anymore. So there is a significant challenge of organization how to find the possibilities to exist as an organization and to proceed with the mission and mandate that they do have. So first of all, we need to think about our current resources that we do have in terms of human capital. That's why it's very important for us here to hear about your inputs regarding this aspect. In meantime, we have to, let's say, extend our cooperation with other regional actors and civil society organizations and with organizations also from the other continents, as we are doing here through the Demo.Reset program, to see how we can exchange the best practices and best models how to pass this very dramatic situation on which we are. So I think if we have kind of input from any organization which is from Colombia or let's say from Nigeria, they can share with us any good example, how do they manage with their own human resources in order to avoid situation that you miss the professional resources and human resources that you had in the past because of the funding. Because as we know, funding is dictating the staff that you engage in different projects. When you miss the staff, you miss the quality of activities, you miss the implementation of the project, because one person cannot do the finances and administration and in meantime do the facilitation of the one workshop or do any public policy documents. So this is kind of opportunity for all of us that we went through the Demo.Reset program and through these mentorship sessions just to see how these kind of situations are, let's say, addressed in different countries that are attending this program. And it's very, very good for us because there are a lot of countries here that are not too much developed, like is Kosovo or Nigeria or other countries. So we have opportunity to discuss and see what we can improve in internal aspect in order to pass this situation when it comes to the funding. So thank you very much, Ramadan. I am very interested to see and to hear from other colleagues here their inputs about the challenges they do face, especially in in regards of human capital or human resources in their respective organizations.
Thanks a lot, Leo. As now I see in the chat, as Alisa also noted, that partnering with other organizations is very important in this kind of situations. Another element with specifically targeting your organization is the structure of your organization somehow allows you maybe to better identify potentials in the member of organizations of your network and explore more about the potential individuals and structures, internal capacities within the members of the network, member organizations of the network, and then going in the exploring opportunities for partnering with other organizations, rather it is in Kosovo or in the regions, because now our region here in Balkans, or all Balkans are maybe smaller than Colombia there, or Nigeria. So when we speak about the region here in Kosovo, we speak about maybe 10, 15 million of people, while these figures might be still small for the cases of Mexico, Indonesia, or Nigeria. So any other colleague would like to share their experience or situation or the current level of capacities? So please, yes, Rajaswari.
Hi, Ramadan. Nice to see you.
Oh, I can't believe.
Yeah, what we face is a cultural difference. Let's say an NGO, when it works with an academic institution or a local governance institution, there is a lot of cultural difference in the way we think, or, the way we, ideate and implement things. So there's a huge difference, and for us, it's the partnership, that takes a long while. So yes, you want to, complement your skills with that of the others. You have certain skills. Let us say we have the social skills, but we want the research skills to come in so that our policy or solutioning is much better. But then what happens is two organizations have, operate in a different scale, the way they respond to things or to data, or, is so different that actually coming together and working becomes a challenge, and it takes really a long time. And in fact, the organization that I work with partner with the local governments whose style of functioning is completely different, academics who are different, market actors, like financial insurance service providers are completely different. And it takes away time, and sometimes you feel you're better off working alone than actually working with. And so, which means that as an NGO has to become a research organization, an NGO has to, think like a market solution provider. And these cultural differences are, are how do we iron those out? That is, my question this evening. Yeah.
Great. Actually, you just led our conversation to our next slide, which is operational flexibility. It's very difficult situation. And by the way, it's great to see you here, Rajaswari.
Thank you.
So it's a very important element, this operational flexibility. just internally in our organization, let alone the in operational flexibility of several partners involved in the joint action. So it's now looking from the different perspective, it's very important the field in which you are engaged. For example, if you are more of a advocacy style, more of the changing any important decision or anything, I think there will be more opportunities for compromise between the organizations in terms of human resources and in terms of operational flexibility, and maybe another aspect also, because the topic is very important. The topic to change something is very important. While when it comes about more social level, more cultural elements, maybe more, I don't know, more let's say conditionally, more softer topics, maybe not hot potatoes like mining topic or any other construction or climate change or something which are more, let's say, hot potatoes, while softer topics are having this operational flexibility, reaching compromise throughout the organizations might be maybe easier. Actually difficult, but when it is about hot potato, when it is about a very important topic, then nobody thinks about capacities, operational flexibility, or they just go together, work together, and try to aim about changing that policy. Actually, I don't know how much you are aware now from the other parts of the world, but what we are having now ongoing in Albania about the construction of resort, huge resort, touristic resort in Albanian coast, with some American funds, with Qatar funds. So Albania is practically on fire almost. Neighboring country here. So in that regard, nobody thinks about operational flexibility, capacities. They all go together and reach some sort of synergy in order to achieve what they want to change externally. So when we speak now about operational flexibility, just having as a sequence is we speak about resource allocation. So having the ability to shift resources between the project to meet the changing needs. It's the crisis response. It's the capacity to quickly and effectively address unexpected local crisis. And it's about project pivoting. So the willingness and ability to change project direction based on the new information. Now, going back to Leo's comment about the USAID and general funds provided by the donors. Sometimes it's not easy to have this shift in the project resources, project frame, to just change and adapt easily the focus of the project, even if there is some emergency raising. Not many donors are flexible to allow that change into their programs that they are supporting your organization. So it's a very complex task, very difficult task. Yes, Meli, I see your hand.
Sorry, Ramadan, before you continue, there are two questions or comments in the chat. So if you want to take a look of them.
Apologize if I missed. It's not easy to track the chat. How can capacity be boosted when an organization or project's human capital depends almost entirely on network capital? By cultural differences, I mean the way we work and what we believe in our style, different partners not convinced with other worldwide. Yeah, so capacity be boosted when organization or project's human capital depends almost entirely on network capital. Look, when you established your organization, you had an aim, a goal, what you want to serve for. When you applied for a project, you had an aim, you had a goal, you had a vision, what you want to do, what you want to change. So that brings this question maybe much earlier in the process. So when you decide the purpose, the goal of when you establish the organization, or when you apply for a project, at that time you should be very careful in selecting your staff, your team, your everything, the structure of membership. Everything is very important from the beginning. So that is a very important element of long-term strategic planning for the organization and for the leadership of the organization. You should be able to determine early in the process what you will be facing after 1, after 5, after 10 years. Of course, a lot of change might happen, a lot of external factors might influence our processes, but still we have to be somehow in advance planning our future steps that would maybe help addressing that potential difficult situation then we will be coming there. And again, partnerships with other organizations is a very important alternative to how to say, to complement the capacities that we have internally within our organization. So I hope this answered your question. And if anyone else wants to add something to this or to share different opinion, please feel free. And again, this leads to the next slide when speaking about the next network capital. So what I was trying to say now is maybe better visualized here in this slide. So identifying key stakeholders for effective collaboration, community leaders, local organization, institutional actors, all of that. So the perspective that I'm trying to say here in this visualization is that with one, we say in Albanian, meniguri mirzu tre zogj. Now, how to translate that would be very difficult, but with one stone to kill 3 birds. So basically, it's very important with one capital that we partner, we identify, we collaborate, is we try to have maximum effect to achieve from that partnership. Basically, when we connect with stakeholders, for example, instead of going to if our case is related to mining, let's say, in the mining, you might have a stakeholder who is important, and the importance is very relative, of course. You might have a stakeholder who is clearly a decision maker in that process. So it's very important who you are targeting in your network capital. It's very important to address directly the most responsible stakeholders in that process that you are trying to deal with. And that leads now to our next phase of the conversation that I would like to discuss with you. So which strategic approach should be used for maximizing our actions for maximum impact? So basically, I would say that there are 3 approaches. First, which is collaborative approach. Second, which is confrontational approach. And third, which is protest disruptive approach. In the first one, in the collaborative approach, of course, no protests, no clash, peace, love, all of that, right? Respect. So what we do is that we somehow target stakeholder engagement. We involve diverse groups in policy creation. We co-create the policy. We join different working groups, different committees, whether it is in parliament, or it is mining related, or in Kosovo case, rural development policy making processes, or youth engagement now in the another experience. Regulation formulation. I have been part of a lot of working groups when there was designed different legislative pieces about transparency, accountability, and maybe also the laws on the capital cities in the case of Kosovo and Afghanistan. Now, that is the collaborative approach. You join the process and you contribute to the process. You utilize your human capacities, operational flexibility, partnership, all of that you utilize in that direction, just to make sure that institutions decide that decision making in institutions reflects your opinion, your will, your goals, your targets, all of that. Could you please share any collaborative approach, any this kind of involvement with your organizations in the past? Is there anything you could like to share with us? Especially, I'm very curious for Nigeria experience here for collaborative approach. Yes, Ama, and then Alejandro.
All right. Hi, Ramadan. Thank you for your presentation. This is Ama from Nigeria. I work with Policy and Legal Advocacy Center. And from the slides that you have shared, I can relate to the collaborative approach. So for my organization, which is Policy and Legal Advocacy Center, we work very, very closely with the Parliament, which is the National Assembly. And when it comes to the amendment of laws or pushing for policies, one of our most effective approach is the stakeholder engagement. Because of our level of interactions with the National Assembly and the way they do the work, when it comes to public hearings, where citizens are expected to come into the National Assembly to speak with legislators, to propose amendments, and to propose new laws that are being considered by the legislature. I think the role that we play in that public hearing is to engage civil society organizations, telling them that, okay, this is what is going on. This policy that you're interested in is being debated on at the National Assembly. So it's really, really important that you attend the public hearing to provide your own input, so that at the end of the day, whatever recommendation is being provided by civil society organizations, it is carried along in the reporting, to the Parliament, when the committee reports back to the Parliament. And I think so far it has been successful, because most of the critical laws that have been implemented or that have been assented into law by the president, most of them will be facilitated, and most of the recommendations of key stakeholders were taken into consideration at that time. So sometimes it's not necessarily that we are, it's a case of, okay, although this is not our area of focus for PLAC, but we believe that so and so organization in health, or if you're in education, or if you're in construction, or if you're in land use, we believe that these laws or these policies is something you should be interested in. So we as PLAC, as an organization, we are willing to support you through that process on how you can participate in the engagement. And so once that is finalized, those stakeholders are always appreciative, of providing the access that they needed to the National Assembly to provide their input. So when you talk about the Police Act that we currently have now, is mostly as a result of engagement with stakeholders through their collaboration with PLAC. We've been able to get a very good Police Act that addresses security issues. When you look at constitutional alteration amendments, the Electoral Act, etc. So I think that is our own experience from Nigeria, from PLAC. Thank you.
Great. Thank you a lot, Ama. Yes, Alejandro?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I was asking about like how to boost or to improve capacity. Thinking about like my experience in Mexico, where many organizations with the ones that I am working with, they have a few members. Sometimes it's uh, two persons or three, I don't know. And sometimes collaboration, it is not only like an option. It have to be like the way to actually work because because these organizations are being so small, so they lack of enough capacity, enough tools, and this collaborative approach led us to make some like, for example, to give some recommendation about a ecological plan and to have some legal strategies. So we work with legal advice, technical advice from some people working in other organizations. So we make like a network, and with this network of organization of one person organization, two-person organization, we achieve to make some uh, many changes in a city where I was working with. So that's why I was asking about the network capital, because sometimes uh, it was like a pool of organizations, but at the end it was working like an organization based on this collaboration. So that's why it's interesting that you're talking about this collaborative approach.
Thanks a lot, Alejandro, right?
Yes, Alejandro.
Now, let me tell something from our experience. I think one of the biggest problems in civil society sectors is having one-man organizations. That is somehow the process of self-destruction, civil society self-destructing itself. So what happens through time is that we have a team of organization established sometimes maybe 10, 20 years before, and then we have some small miscommunication, and then one of them goes out, establish its own targets donor. But so first, one-man organization, one-man show organizations, and the second biggest problematic situation with civil society organizations is having donor-driven organizations. So when you have one-man show organizations and when you have poorly donor-driven organization, the achieving long-term impact or strong impact in our societies from this type of organizations is very difficult. That is why we need to explore these partnership opportunities, this, how to say, division into small pieces of civil society can have an opposite way in this lack of funding situation. People should be again trying to stay together, come with the new networks, with a new organization. Why not? And I think that is one of the cases of Kosovo organization, maybe, which actually is not an organization, but is network of organizations. And maybe some of them might be one-man show of organizations, but still each of them presents some difficult capacity, capability, potential, which could be utilized within this network partnership, wider network of partnership. I see Icha has raised her hand. Yes, Icha?
Yes, thank you, Ramadan. I think it's really interesting and also more practical. I think that I got now, like from what you have presented. I'm just reflecting from what we have been working most yeah, like for the collaborative approach, particularly with the government. Actually, like yeah, Kota Kita actually we work in the context of urban issues, and when we are engaging with the government, uh trying to collaboratively and also to bridge within between the government and also with the community, right? And one thing that we also uh try to have a like a kind of the good collaboration and engagement with the government is when uh it is not only how we then try to good communication with them, but on the aspect of try to identify what is the important issues that government has now. Like a kind of when we try to collaborate with them from our side, we also try to identify what is their prioritized program for now. For example, for the mayor, they all have a kind of the short term, medium term, and long term program. And for the mayor, actually, in each cities, they also have like more of strategic medium plan, right? So for us, this is something that important to identify actually what they are working in that issues, what they're focused, and the way that we have to pitch that kind of their focus also to yeah, we also work in this, and you have that kind of activity. So like a kind of, if they don't have, we don't identify that things, they don't feel that, oh, this is not my priority, why I have to do with this kind of. So yeah, this is a sometime like I don't know, like a kind of the made us like a kind of lack of then our we try like a kind of organization to work to address what the people are also needs important for the people, but at the same time yeah, the government also work with the people is sometimes, but in the way they are approaching it is sometimes different, right? Yeah, and I think yeah, this need to yeah, yeah, this also depend on the context of region, I think. But in Indonesia, pitching like a kind of the what the government has and also what we are working on is something that yeah, really interesting.
How
Yeah, that's
to
what.
Yeah,
Mm.
thanks a lot, Peter. You reminded me a conversation that I had just maybe less than a month ago with a mentee from Poland, uh, and he was very concerned that he had an initiative that he brought to his municipality on recycling. So it was municipality in the Poland close to the Ukrainian border, and he was totally rejected. So he used this first collaborative approach. So he sticks with collaborative approach, and his idea about educating the youth about recycling, plastics, and climate, all that stuff. And when he went to municipality, he was somehow very hardly rejected, and he was informed that the concern of the municipality and concern of all the state in Poland is how to address the risk and danger from incoming drones, Russian drones that are passing from Ukraine to Poland. And now this guy was trying to work about the recycling of plastics, but the concern of the institution was drones, was war, was potential killing of peoples. So what I was trying to explain to this guy from Poland was that since you are still in the collaborative approach, you need to collaborate with this institution. I was advising him to try uh, making some alignment between his goal and institutional concern. So I was trying to say him try to insert any elements of public safety, of public information, or risks and dangers from conflict, protection, these kind of things, try to combine with this recycling element. So also now in your cases, when you face the situation where institutions are not focused in your issues, try to identify what their focus is first. How you should identify that? You should just have you have several options to come to that understanding. First, you can conduct individual meetings with them. Second, you can go back, follow their electoral campaign, what they promised, what they did not promise, what they were for, what they were against, and you can maybe have more information what their focus would be. Try go back analyzing the budgets that they have approved previous year for the current year, for the next year. The budget shows the political will of the establishment of the institution. So it might be an element for you to try to then align your goals, your targets with the institutional focus. That would be one way. And now I see Sylvia's comment in the chat about the protests, and that actually leads us again to our let's say second approach, which is confrontational, but not necessarily still protests. So it's depending from the topic. If you are dealing with a mine and you see that nothing worked and that environment is degrading, pollution, people are migrating, people are dying working in the mining, so there is no collaboration there anymore. So nothing can stop that. So you should consider having new approach utilized, and that might be as a first step towards the confrontational approach. But don't forget the hats. Don't forget the hats. Don't forget capacities that you have. You have strictly to assess continuously what are your capacities, what you can do, what you cannot do. So first is maybe leveraging some formal pressure points, established channels. It might be the committees, working groups, or whatever, depending on the country. Employ legal mechanisms, utilize legal tools to enforce compliance. Compliance might be informal requests, access to expose issues, launch public campaigns, raise awareness, mobilize public, ensure transparency, promote openness in decision making. So this might be some of the activities you can do. Hold entities accountable, challenge decision making, influence and reshape decision processes. So this might be some of the ways of confrontational, but please be aware that still I'm not speaking about physical confrontation. It is more about legal confrontation, utilizing all institutional resources that are available for you in your countries, that you could utilize all of them. In our case, in Kosovo, for example, petitions are one of the ways. Access to public documents is one of the ways. Access to procurement processes, monitoring the procurement, if it is about the capital investments. I don't know. Monitor the implementation of legal obligations from the institutions, if it is a publication of decisions or whatever it takes. So in our parliament, for example, we have right of I don't know, certain number of signatures from the people could raise issue even in the parliament. We could provide amendments to the laws which are in the process of adoption in the parliament. So at local and central level, there are a lot of legal mechanisms that could be utilized in that regard. And I'm quite sure that in all of your countries, there are a large number of this kind of opportunities. Is there any question, anything that you would like to tell here? If not, we go to the Colombia style, which is more about the disrupt, about protests, about all of that. But I'm trying here to visualize it with this bulldozer. So there is a point where you could just be patient and wait and wait and wait, and after that there is no more wait. So when you actually consume all collaborative approach opportunities, all confrontational in legal terms, then it's time for protest. In our case, Sylvia and all of you, actually in Kosovo, in our, especially with Albanians, it's not that we protest a lot. We don't protest a lot, but when we protest, we put everything on fire. That is very bad attitude of us in that region. For example, when I was studying in Turkey, I remember I was studying in Ankara. It was the major university that actually initiated large-scale protests in Ankara in Turkey. And your comment here reminded me of this Latin American heroes that they were using while they were protesting, fighting with the police and all of that there. So I understand from that perspective the spirit of this Latin American protests. Again, any processes that people don't like and want to change that. And actually that is very good. That is part of democracy. Yet you have to be very careful. If you decide about the protest, if you decide about the disrupt, you have to have very good measurement of your capacities, of your potential, about the sources. Otherwise, you just don't ignore Mitsokoli slide in the beginning or kamikaze slide in the beginning. So you have to be very careful when you decide going with disruptive protests and this way of reaction. Because look, the mining topic is not an easy topic. Rural development topic in Kosovo might be, more softer, fancy topic, all of that. But mining it's difficult. It's very different story. Working with commission, with parliament in Mexico is different story. So you have to be. So I'm not absolutely. I'm not how to say. I'm not somehow trying to say don't do that. Do that. But when you do that, make sure that there will be effect and you will not suffer. That is very important. If you suffer, there is no meaning of that. Make sure that you don't suffer, and you will not suffer when you do good partnership. You do all these elements that we mentioned before. So we have another exercise, small exercise with Mentimeter. I'm very curious to understand which approach you choose. Can you help us, Melissa, setting up the new Menti? Just so let's do 2 rounds. First, which approach you would choose between this collaborative, confrontational, and protests. And I don't know if there will be possibility here. If not, try to text your messages in the comment why. So just provide additional feedback why you choose the approach that you voted here. I see Colombian guys are not voting yet. We have only few protests. We have only 9 responses, 10 so far. And yes, Colombia is coming. So collaborative approach, of course, is the most preferred way, and I think that should be. And as we explained several times, the protest should be the last last approach to be utilized, and then we have to go through the collaborative approach and then utilize the confrontational mechanisms and go in the next steps. So collaborative, as the groups we work with have fragile livelihoods. Okay. What about Indonesia? Can anyone just provide any additional element in the chat?
Probably I like to answer
Yes,
first. Before Archie.
please.
Yeah. I'm from Kota Kita, Indonesia. I actually rank the first collaborative approach, then confrontational, and then the third is protest. I kind of if I allow to bring a little bit of our context, like in the past few years, there were a lot of like massive protests happen in our country. Like it happened in several cities simultaneously, and actually, it started with like it's kind of I will say like it's kind of demonstration because the government never listened to us, and then it started with like non it started with like a calm demonstration at the very first, but because the government never want to listen, never like open their office, for example, to allow the demonstrants to have a kind of discussion and things like that, then some of the demonstration could escalate to be more like brings become not very controllable, I would say. And yeah, at that point it's very chaotic because the government will put police to kind of attack the demonstrants in very harmful way. They kind of force the civilians to just back, and yeah, eventually never hear us. So it brings from my perspective, it's kind of bring more distraction to the civilians, other than being hurt by the government. So yeah, it's kind of bring more risk for me. So I kind of prefer to still go with the collaborative approach first, as especially if the scale is more like it's smaller, kind of in the city, for example, because the municipalities usually still willing to listen to like organizations such as NGO, especially if the NGO already exists for several years and they have already like collaborative projects in the past. So yeah, I would like to go first with that. But if the context is like more is like bigger, more massive, for example, in terms of national policies, usually people can go with the protest.
Thank you very much. And by the way, I was just going through the chat, and actually we again, we have a collaborative approach, majority selected that. That means that we can move on with slides, Meli, if possible. Great. Thank you. So, again, as we said before, it's all about avoiding kamikaze trap, avoiding Mitsokoli trap, or Superman trap, just to be careful that we will be there even after our advocacy campaign, after our actions and all of that, because society will need us to be healthy and strong and to be there to continue fighting for the general will. So again, it's very important choosing your battles. So if we want to avoid becoming stuck in the trap, we have to be careful choosing our battles. If the battle is the one that we could not be able to handle it's better avoiding that. It will harm our organization. It can harm even ourselves. So if we want to choose a battle, but we are still not in the desired level of action, you can wait a bit, you can consolidate your structures, your organization, your membership, your partnership, your funding, your all what is needed, and then you can choose that battle. But if you have if your assessment, we said as a first step, if our assessment shows that we are not ready for that battle, try to postpone it, try to wait for it, try to avoid it for that moment. So assess if the issue impacts ordinary citizens' lives when you choose the battle, determine if there are legal or political avenues to address that issue. So if there is a way for collaborative approach to be utilized or confrontational, these legal mechanisms, and then you move forward.
Sorry, Ramadan. There are some comments also in the chat if you want to read it.
Let me go through it. Thanks. So Vanessa says, with a government that is deeply close to dialogue and significantly rolling back social protections, I would love to select the protest approach. But even that has become risky these days. Our approach has been to start collaborating with all other stakeholders so that we can eventually engage with the government in a stronger and more coordinated way. Vanessa, I would be very happy to read maybe here what is the change you are aiming there, so that it's what is leading you very easily to go directly to protest and then see that that is very risky and then go and do step back. If you could just share that in the comment. Alejandro, from my experience, institutions are not really open for meaningful collaboration. They will never be, Alejandro. So for me, the strategy is to confront building community. So if it doesn't work or to complement, we can mobilize. Fair enough. Collaborative approach, Audrey. Might work in our context in Kenya in policy so creation and shaping policies through at the same time with the ongoing crisis in the country. Confrontation, especially protests, has been the new normal. Okay. And Ubong from Nigeria. Yes, first collaborative approach, then if it is working, I go on with constructive criticism protests. Okay, fair enough. It's depending from the topics from the battle that you are dealing with. Okay. Now, speaking about stakeholder mapping. When we decide our battle, we also need parallel to decide about the stakeholders who will be part of that process. We need to target all system. If we don't target whole system, we will reduce the chances of having the success. It's very important that when identifying stakeholders, we identify appropriate stakeholders that are affecting whole system. It's very important that we have core decision makers. As I said in the beginning, it's not efficient if you go and communicate with stakeholders that are not, with officials that are not decision makers. It's very important to target the decision makers. Look, this systemic friction, we will be speaking later about the hybrid actions. Systemic frictions are great possibility, great opportunity for all of us. Every society, every leadership, every political party, whatever government has its frictions. Now, from the perspective of having lack of access to the even priorities of the institution that we are dealing with, it's very hard to understand the frictions of that system, but exploring potential frictions within the system would be great opportunity for us. For example, about mining, if there is any friction within the political party which is in power about the ways how to address that, maybe some group would seek more control, one another would seek some other. It's very important to identify these frictions, to identify actors of this friction, and then try to involve them into your actions, because they might be very effective tools to push forward with your initiative. It might be oppositional party, it might be some journalists. So there are always people who doesn't agree at the high level with his processes in the field. So amplifiers and catalyzers are more about the stakeholders or the people who would be able to just amplify your voice. Might be journalists, might be the social people in social network, how they call now them. So there are a lot of opportunities now that could amplify your voice in the field. And the next is when we speak about decision makers. Now, decision makers could be municipal assembly members, elected officials in your municipality, could be mayors, could be ministry officials. So depending on the topic that you are dealing with, you have to identify core decision makers from that perspective. Just let me go through the Vanessa's comment. Yes, of course, to give some context, activists working on democracy, protection, and human rights, and even more intensely environmental activists are increasingly being targeted and harassed. This often happens through doxing campaigns and coordinated attacks on their social media accounts. As a result, we have seen that direct confrontation and public demonstrations can create significant security risk and reduce activists' ability to protect themselves and continue their work safely. For that reason, coalition building and coordination have become important strategies. By strengthening collaboration among civil society actors, we can continue advancing key initiatives without abandoning them, while also increasing our collective capacity to maintain security, provide mutual support, and respond to threats more effectively. Thanks a lot, Vanessa. Totally agree. It seems like very difficult situation there, and definitely you should adapt your actions with the situation there. And Astrid, yes, Sylvia, commenting on Astrid. So we can move about friction, systemic friction in government. So as I said, dissident factions, oppositional parties, any journalist, any other organization who deals with maybe in a different level with opposing to the government, to the ministry, municipality, whatever it is, you can utilize. Sorry. Okay, amplifiers. When I speak about amplifiers, first and the most important are investigative journalists. Investigative journalists, at least in my case, I have utilized in a lot of cases in the journalists that I knew in person or through different channels, through different actors. They are very good tool to be utilized to push your voice in the public without your direct involvement on that. So with very good journalist, you could achieve much more impact than with a physical protest. So I have experienced that. It's very, very, very great opportunity that you could all maybe identify this kind of journalists in your countries, in your cities, and try to collaborate with them. Try first have some collaboration, communication with them, and then try to build up on it, providing needed document information so that journalists could build up that amplification on your behalf. Trade syndicates are workers syndicates are also very important element. Now, in our context, we have less and less this kind of structures here, but investigative journalism and civil society organizations are very important actors here in the, I would say, maybe Balkan experiences, while the business associations could be also very important voice, very important amplifiers of your aims, goals, and actions, especially maybe for mining part, because it's very difficult topic, it's very complex topic, and also in Mexico is very difficult topic. The business association are usually very powerful structures in the countries, and if you would be able in this context, in these countries, to involve them, would be very effective tool to push forward your goals. Okay, we mentioned yes, digital influencers. This was the word that I forgot 2 minutes before. Digital influencers. So we have influencers now all over the TikTok, YouTube, all of them, all these social networks. So having them involved in our actions would also be very effective tool for community engagement, for reaching to our targeted goals in that regard. So when you have open conversation, of course, you are just going through elements of the next slides that you have foreseen to discuss on that. So this is why I am just passing the slides that we have already discussed. So building self-sustaining civic waves. This is maybe what I like the most is that here, imagine a beneficiary. Wait a second. Sorry for the second. Now imagine a beneficiary organization wants to tackle a sudden local issue. For example, the municipality is secretly cutting down trees in a beloved public park to clear space for an unauthorized parking lot. Now, traditional heavy way, the CSO writes a 40-page policy paper, holds a press conference that only 3 journalists attend, and tries to organize a street protest themselves. The staff gets exhausted and the municipality ignores them. And then you have self-moving ways. You lower the barrier, CSO builds a simple online one-page form. Citizen just types in their name, and the tool automatically sends a formal access to public documents request straight to the mayor office. Then you gamify it. The CSO sets up a public transparency counter on social media. More than 200 citizens have officially demanded the permits. Mayor has only 7 days left to respond. And citizens start counting the days. Now, the local youth group and the neighborhood kindergarten board see the momentum. They download the template, print it out, and start collecting physical signatures in the park gates themselves. So the CSO now doesn't even need to be there. The community has completely taken over the engine, creating a self-sustaining political wave that the municipality can no longer ignore. Now, that would be maybe the one simple example of doing that. And when mentioning this countering stuff, I reminded of a Kosovo example of a civil society activist about counting the days of the mayor, if you recall that situation, Leo.
Yes.
So it was very effective tool. The guy was pressuring the mayor about taking some decision which was against the law, and then he was just every day writing on the Facebook, counting the days, and he became then as a trend to everybody was counting the name until the mayor was changed his decision and somehow avoided that problematic situation. So the civil society actors had successfully achieved to change that policy in the local level. Now, this part of hybrid actions are very, very trendy now. When I say hybrid, just don't mess with Russian or Chinese style hybrid involvement in all countries all over to change the approach or whatever they are trying to do. I'm trying to link this hybrid way with utilizing of more tools in order to achieve what we want to achieve. So starting from institutional tactics to public tactics, official documents, countdown tracker, symbolic public events, activities, protests, or media spotlight. So you have to use a wide range of tools in order to be effective and to achieve the goal that you want to achieve. And what is most important in maybe it's embracing advocacy as a lifestyle. Here is the graphic that that shows that transition. This slide somehow is about addressing the question: are you ready to scale? So to assess if we have to avoid being engaged in that, or we have a green light and address on that. So the red flag is one person carries the entire project, or we are rushing into a high-stakes legal battle without a dedicated team. So the capacity assessment, we have to be very careful, otherwise we might have problems to our organization and even to ourselves. It's about tactical sophistication. We have to avoid this organizational trap. Friction analysis. We have to identify very effectively potential frictions in the system, and decentralization strategy. We have to decentralize the approach, the action, and to involve as much as people we can in that in these processes. Now, just a few elements about monitoring, evaluating and monitoring our actions, our process. Is very important that we, because advocacy is a long-term process, and if we go to undertake to translate our internal organization into action, we need to constantly evaluate the level of success, the impact that we are achieving with that. So it's very important that we constantly do the evaluation. It builds the trust in outcome and recommendations of the process. It helps us learning what worked to improve future processes. It helps us create transparency to demonstrate that process is fair and unbiased. It builds legitimacy, which is very important, and it builds evidence for the best practice to be used later in the next actions. So evaluating participatory democracy is basically the three-step process which goes through the process design integrity, deliberative experiences, and pathways to impacts, where we evaluate influential conclusions and actions of a deliberative process. So the timeline for evaluation is we need to evaluate before the project, during the project, and after the project. We have to constantly go through this process of assessing what is working, what is not working, in order to be able to adapt to the situation, to avoid the risk, to overcome the challenges, and to avoid any unnecessary circumstances for us individually and our organization, our colleagues, our teammates. In the evaluation process should be involved participants, staff of our organization, potentially external evaluators if we have needed funds, resources, and decision makers who we are targeting to influence. So this was basically the basically the last slide, and then we can go to the questions. Yes. Now again, floor is yours. I see Alisa left. Okay. So before saying thank you, is there any additional comment you would like to share? Any experience you want to share, to add? Any
No,
question?
Ramadan, I just want to, on behalf of the organization that I do represent, since we are covering the Eastern Europe here, I would like to thank you personally for this presentation today. Very insightful inputs regarding the topic. And for sure, I would like to thank you also, Demo.Reset team, for the support that they have provided during the mentorship sessions, since this is the final one. So thank you very much, and hope to see you soon in person next year in the summit, in the main final conference.
Thank you, Leo. Yes, Melissa?
Yes, Raman, I want to link the final topic with the previous topic that you developed. And I would like you, how do you think an organization could steer in the right direction when the results of an evaluation during a process indicate that is hidden in the wrong direction, that is necessary to take another decisions. I would like the link the final topics with the rest of the presentation, because I think this is one of the biggest challenge when you are conducting this kind of initiatives regarding the deliberation and participation. So I would like to amplify this last reflection.
I think it's better to reframe what I told earlier, is that when you see that you are in the wrong direction as the organization, you are on the way to be a kamikaze. So those guys always had an opportunity to change the direction of their plane just before 2-3 seconds before the crash. So it's similarly with the organization. If you see that you are in the wrong direction, you should just take a breath, stop, see, analyze, assess, and then come up, decide what should be the next step. Look, choosing the battles, we discussed about that. If before you choose the battle, you have to make these assessments. If you have decided that you are ready for the battle, but during the battle you find out that you are still not ready for that battle, nothing harms if you just take a breath again, stop, reevaluate, reassess. If you need more funding, go seek for more funds. If you ensure, go back, continue your battle. If you need more human resources, go find them and then go back to your battle. If you need journalists, go establish coordination, contact with them. So for that purpose is very important evaluation throughout the process. So constantly you have to evaluate and assess your state, your current state, and then try to adapt to the needs of the process. Yes, Ama?
Thank you so much, Ramadan, for your very, very, very honest presentation and very realistic. And from all the comments and from all the contributions, it is quite obvious that it is almost the same thing globally and across the board in terms of collaborative approaches, the process, the disruptive processes. But what stood out for me was your point that talks about choosing your battles. For several organizations in Nigeria, I think that has been their most critical problem, not being able to understand why they are doing certain things and just dashing out into the field without any evaluation, any research, without any facts. And they think they can either fight the government or fight the political power, that currently exists. And so it's been eye-opening really, when Alma also talked about the disruptive protest and the whole engagement thing. So for here in Nigeria, I think one of the most disruptive process was the NSAS protest in 2020, which was 6 years ago. It was all about, it went global. It was all about the government and security issues, police brutality on citizens. Although there were recommendations that were made, but till today, has the issues been addressed? No. There are still police brutality. The government still do what they want to do. In terms of investigative journalism, where you talk of investigative journalists, in fact, most journalists now in Nigeria, they live in fear because of the fact that, okay, you expose something and the government comes for you, they pick you up, your family can find you. And so citizens, they have been pushing for the whistleblowers bill, to say, okay, can you enact a legislation that protects citizens, when they put out this information, they are somewhat protected. But because the government understands that, okay, somewhat this thing would not be in their favor, they don't even just want that piece of legislation to exist. So year in, year out, every legislative cycle of 4 years, that bill just stays where it is. And so I quite agree with you on all that you have said. And again, in terms of the approach civil society organizations or individuals wants to use, I think it's also important to look at who they are trying to engage, because I believe that there are different approaches for different stakeholders. The collaborative approach may work for a certain category of people. The disruptive may work for some people, and the confrontational approach might also work. So for us in Nigeria, or for my organization, we tend to look at that to say, okay, what is the best way? Can we start, our strength is in collaborating. Can we start collaborating and leave the other part of the issue with those organizations that have the confrontational strength or that have the resources to protest? So diversifying this category of approaches has really been useful, and your presentation has just been able to reiterate that fact to say, yes, these approaches, they work, but you should understand your context, you should choose your battles, and make sure you monitor and you evaluate everything that you've done. So kudos to Demo.Reset, kudos to Ramadan. I really enjoyed your session. I could go on and on and on, so well done. You've done it. You did it I think you killed it. Let me use the Gen Z word now. You killed the presentation. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Anna, for all your words. So then it's time for me to say to everyone, thank you a lot. And again, it was really great pleasure for me to have a chance to talk with all of you. And having Rajaswari meeting here, it was also a very good experience for me. So thanks to Demo.Reset team, to everyone involved in this process. Looking forward for next meetings with you. Thank you very much. Elisa.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye, guys.
Thank you so much, Ramadan. I would like to close this conversation. Sincerely thank all of you to being part of this series of our 4 open sessions on sustainability in deliberative models. Your participation, reflections, questions, and all, of course, shared experiences have enriched a lot this collective learning journey and demonstrate the strength of a growing community of practice. We really hope that these conversations have provided not only practical insights and useful tools, but also renew inspiration to continue building deliberative initiative that could be resilient, impactful, and sustainable over time. As you know, this is the end of a series of open session. We will continue our work with the selected organization that have been part of this mentoring program from Mexico, from Kosovo, from Indonesia, and from Kenya. And thank you again for your commitment and generosity being part of these kind of scenarios. And please still connect with the work of Demo.Reset, the work of Extituto. Follow us by Instagram in the web page. Here you will find a lot of information that could be very useful for your different processes. I don't know if Sylvie or the rest of the team want to add some words or comments.
Yes, I just want to close by thanking the Demo.Reset team, thanking you, Meli, Andre, and Bene. This is like a whole work that we've been building for months. And we see that this is like really inspiring for many organizations, for many processes. So cheers to you also, and to our great team of mentors. Thank you all. We'll see you soon with new sessions, with more discussions, also to continue building this space for democratic innovation.
At the end, we want to ask you for a picture. So if you want to open your cameras to take the picture, I will try to. If you, I don't know, Sylvie, if you have to put several faces.
Should I take the picture? Is that what you're saying?
Please.
Okay. Okay. So everyone smile, please. Okay. Another one. Great. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Have a nice, great day.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Porfa, la transcripción,